Hello and welcome to Social Isolation with me, Alex Ravenhall, the type of person you'd bump into in a supermarket because I'm always there due to my addiction to quavers. This podcast is a way for me to cope with the boredom and mental strain of being cooped inside for months on end, and hopefully provide some light entertainment for you, listening to people you don't know talk about things they love and are passionate about. Or, for fans of the word because, listening out for how many times it is said in each podcast. The idea behind the podcast is to reconnect with friends and talk about the things that they are passionate about and enjoy. Unfortunately, even though I love Norwegian straw jousting, there isn't a podcast on the subject. Talking about things that you love releases those sweet endorphins we're all craving. And so, if you take anything away from this podcast, it's to ring, text or FaceTime that friend you haven't spoken to in a long time and have a nice long natter. Over the following recordings you'll hear discussion on several topics including acting, comedy, football, Pokemon, music and television. Feel free to listen on those that interest you, or just listen to them all, and maybe you'll develop an interest from the impassioned discussion. Disclaimer time, none of us are experts in any of these subjects, neither do we claim to have any success in these areas. These are just people talking about things they enjoy. Finally, as you can hear, I am recording on this shitty little iPad, so apologies if the sound quality isn't quite that of some other podcasts. Today I'm talking all things acting with my brilliant friend Ozzy Osgun. I am known for starring roles including Captain Redbeard in my primary school production of Pirates of the Curry Bean. I played Errand Boy in Cinderella and a postman in another production I can't remember the name of. So as you can tell, I very much know my stuff. But where I do fall off, I'm sure Ozzy will pick up for me. But yeah, this one's going to be really fun. Watch out for swearing, because it might happen. I have no control over this. It's just the way words work. My task today, if I choose to accept it, which at this stage I might not, I hope I do, is to get Ozzy to name 3 types of dog. Whenever I set myself more than one of this thing, I always fail. So hopefully this time is going to be the exception to that rule. Sit back and enjoy. Right, let's get cracking. I'm going to start by introducing my guest today. He is a funny and talented drama and English student who I first met when he was performing in a play. And his performance was so fantastic that I thought in that very moment, I'd love to become friends with him and do a podcast about acting with him in about 6 months. And look at us now. With a heart of gold and the initials that make up the sound of a ghost, it's Ozzy Osgun. How are you, Ozzy?
I'm marvellous, Alex. Marvellous, thank you. How are you yourself?
I'm very well. It's getting a bit boring now, stuck inside. But it's these conversations that keep me going, Ozzy.
They keep me going. They move me on each day. I love it.
But we're doing this over Facebook, of course. And I think it's fair to say, Ozzy, that it feels quite formal, and that's because it is. Shock horror. It's an interview. Yeah, you weren't expecting that, were you? This podcast's full of twists and turns. And as your interviewer, as is common practice when you interview someone, the first question is, what am I interviewing you for? So if you could get interviewed for any job in the world, Ozzy, and you are, what job would you get interviewed for?
I would be interviewed for my dream role, for my dream job, which is to be an actor, and specifically my dream role to be Bert from Mary Poppins.
Bert from Mary Poppins.
That is the dream.
To be fair, you actually have the accent, so it wouldn't be an atrocious gimmick of a Cockney accent. You've got it in spades. So you've got one step over the original.
That's really good to know. I mean, I can't wait for this dream to be made true.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm Mary Poppins. So you're getting interviewed by the right person. Not like an actor playing Mary Poppins. I am the actual Mary Poppins. So,
wow,
you've really got to impress me with some fantastic answers. But just before we start, seems like there's someone at the door.
Ooh.
Come on in. Ozzy, this is Henry. Ozzy, this is Henry the Hermit. He is the head of Mary Poppins Industries, but he's also a bit shy. He's actually been in a cave for the past 82 years. And he's just come out to just check in on me, he loves Mary Poppins. He likes to check she's all right. But he also feels a bit awkward because he doesn't really know what an actor is or what acting is. So what would really help him out is, could you tell him what that is so he doesn't feel as awkward and shy?
Yes, of course I can. So if you're an actor, Henry, you are basically, in a sense, pretending to be someone else. So you use your voice, your body to sort of show different emotions in different scenarios. You can be really old, young, male, female, any gender in between. You can be whoever or whatever you want. And it's about having fun and making people laugh or cry by, in a sense, pretending to be something else.
That is fantastic. I like, obviously, if I had set this question, which I definitely haven't, I thought it was quite a difficult one, and you did that really well. Henry's gone. He's gone to take up the role of Hamlet at the Globe. You've inspired him that much, Ozzy. So it's a great start to proceedings.
Great, I love that.
Let's dive straight in, I think, because obviously we do a bit of acting, me and Ozzy. We're not saying we're professional by any means. We just enjoy acting. It's a fun time all around. So, Ozzy, what is the first piece of acting you remember? Now, this is quite a wide question. It can be the first show you saw or something, or it can be the first time you noticed someone was acting. So in that sense, like, you might have watched a lot of shows but not realised what an actor was, if that makes sense. So what was your first, like, interaction with acting, would you say, that you can remember?
Well, I mean, at the time, when I was younger, obviously I watched a lot of, like, cartoons and stuff. And I don't know if at the time I would have thought that was acting. I still would think that's quite real.
Yeah.
I reckon the first thing I thought was acting was probably going to the theatre.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon the first show I saw was probably The Lion King.
Good way to start.
Yes, which is amazing. So I think the first time seeing the use of the puppetry and stuff, where you can see, obviously you believe it in a sense, but that's the first time I was like, wow, they're actually... It's a lion, but it's not a lion. Isn't that exciting? So I reckon that was the first piece of acting that I saw, realising it was actually acting.
How old were you when you went to see it?
Oh, I would have been quite young, 6 or 7 maybe.
Oh, fair.
Quite young. I think I went with my nan. As I've seen a lot of theatre with my nan, bless her.
Oh.
Yeah.
You do have those people, though. You're kind of like people you share the same interests with, the people you go and see things with. For me, I think my first one, it was probably something my sister did at school, because we used to always go and watch them. I remember her very well playing The Wicked Witch of the West and melting on stage, and I was like, what is going on? This is incredible. But like the first proper thing I remember, like, acting wise, like something, oh shit, this proper acting, is a musical as well. It was Les Mis, and it was, so I went to the same secondary school my dad worked at, but I at the time was very, like, about 6 or 7 like yourself, and it was their school production, so it wasn't professional or anything, but it was a really good production of it, and I loved that musical ever since. So I would say mine's probably Les Mis at about the same time as you.
Yeah.
Where I saw people, getting on stage and doing things, and I was like, I want to do that, and I did. I played Shepherd number 4 in my school nativity that year, and I smashed it.
I'm sure you were the best shepherd. Never mind about 1, 2, and 3. Shepherd number 4. That's where it's all about.
As is classically known in the tale, there is a 4th shepherd. Just quickly, did you perform many nativities growing up? Everyone had their nativity character, I think.
Yes. So I was in 2 nativities, in reception and then year 1. I think 1 year I was a sheep, and my mum handmade the costume. She got a vest and spent hours gluing individual cotton buds onto the thing, which doesn't sound too long, but it took her a long time because she wanted me to be the best looking sheep on stage. And then the next year I was promoted to shepherd.
Oh, which number?
Oh, I don't know the number. I mean, there was quite a few of us, though.
Are you trying to make me feel better because you were shepherd number 2?
I might have been. But yes, I got a little promotion. 1 year sheep, next year shepherd. I could have been Jesus, but they used a doll.
Oh, the bastards. I remember really well, I played a polar bear, which is it was a very well-known animal in the nativity scene.
What animal?
Yeah, and I there were 2 of us. There was me and another girl called Alex. There were 2 Alexes playing the polar bears. So I don't know if we were typecast or something, but hey ho, it worked out. It was a great role. It's what got me into acting. No, it didn't. But it was a nice thing to be a part of.
Yes. Oh, that's lovely.
Is that Nativity the first show you were ever in, would you say?
Well, it's hard to remember the exactly timing. I know the first role I remember doing, which was at my drama school when I was very young, again maybe 5 or 6. I don't remember the exact show, but the premise of it was set in a circus, and I was clown. At one stage, the lion crept up behind me and bit my bum.
Oh no!
Yes, I know, it was very traumatic. But that's actually the first piece of acting I remember doing. I don't know what the show was. It may have been made up by one of my drama tutors, but it was something to do with a circus and more family orientated and stuff. But yeah, I was like about 5, so around about the same time as a Nativity, but maybe a little bit more fun.
That one sticks out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna then ask you the same question, but a little bit different. So, what's the first role you remember really like being a role for? Because when you're growing up, say if you're in the Nativity, you just stand around and do something. What was the first role where you actually got a little bit excited for it? Kind of got the gears churning, would you say?
I would say that would be when I did a pantomime. I did Cinderella, not Cinderella. No, I did do Cinderella, but again, I was villager number 2 or something, so no one remembers that. It was Alice in Wonderland, where I played the King of Hearts.
Delightful.
Which was quite exciting. That was my first sort of speaking role where I actually had more things to say rather than, look, he's over there, or where's the baddie? I don't know.
Just classic pantomime lines, really.
Classic pantomime line. But yeah, that was my first role I remember getting excited for. And it was like actually, not just a list of ensemble and my name was there. It was actually King of Hearts. Ozzy. It was great. It was exciting.
It's that first programme you get where your name's on there. You get so excited by it. Mine was I had one line, and I played an errand boy in Cinderella. Funny you say it. And I remember my line because I practiced it so well. I put on a Cockney accent. I was about 8, I think, and I took it so seriously. And I just remember the teacher going, "That was very good, Alex," and I felt a rush like you wouldn't believe. And it was like at that point I was like, I'm gonna act. Maybe not very well, but I'm gonna do it and see where it goes. That was an inspirational role for me, errand boy. It was.
That's where it all started.
Yeah. One day when I'm writing my autobiography, that'll be the first sentence. I played errand boy in Cinderella at primary school. Fingers crossed. Anyway.
I look forward to that.
What is, Ozzy, would you say is the favourite show you've ever done? Which is a difficult question, because...
This is a very difficult question.
I'm sure you've been in a hell of a lot of shows, and a lot of very good shows.
Quite a few in my time. Some more successful than others, but we won't talk about them. No, this is a hard question, because I've been in quite a range of shows as well. And it's like, how do you compare being in a panto to being in a showcase to being in a play? So it's very hard. But I would say the show, which was my favourite to be in, was when I did Susie Called the Musical.
Oh.
Back in, I think it was 3 years ago the other day, so that would make it 2016 if my maths was right. And I say that was my favourite because it was just the whole experience from start to finish. The cast, the crew, it was cast perfectly. And it's one of the only shows where I can think I've been in where it's like I can't imagine anyone else being any of the roles. So the cast was great, the music was great. I mean, the show doesn't really make sense. You'd watch it and you wouldn't really understand the plot or what's going on. But it's just the madness of... It's all about the Dr. Zeus characters and how they all fit together in this physical universe, if you like. Think of, instead of Marvel, Dr. Zeus. I think it was just such a crazy thing to be involved in, but so much fun.
What role did you play?
I played Yertle the Turtle.
Yertle?
Yertle the Turtle, yes. Which was an experience.
What?
It's something I had to sing. on stage solo, and famously I'm not very good at that. So I just put on a voice, and it was. I mean, I have to show you the recording of it one day.
You really do. I'm so excited already.
But yeah, that was the best, I think, overall experience I've been in.
Just like as a process as a whole.
From start to finish, the process, the shows. Also, because that one, I haven't done many shows in an actual professional theatre, and that one was, and it had an audience of a couple of hundred. So that experience as well was quite nerve-wracking but exciting as well. It was such a great time that I think that it holds a special place in my heart. It does. So yeah, that would be the best, I think.
Who did you do it with? Was it with school or was it with your...
That was with my drama school. Yeah. So they kind of do a big musical every 2 years. And that was one where I had the biggest role in. It was great. Because also I was like one of the seniors that year, so it was like all of your close friendship group leading the show, which is quite fun as well.
That's a lovely... Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because it's the people in the show that make it, Ozzy, as we all know. Just on this quick, and we don't like to be negative at all, but have you ever had any, like, not like a whole show, but any, like, show really bad nerves before a show, or, like, anything that you felt a little bit out of control of, and then it's come out okay? So, like, as an example, when I went to Edinburgh, we'd got rid of a sketch, and we'd rewritten a sketch that we were going to just perform there, and I'd forgotten to learn the lines for it. And so I was in there about to perform for the first time really to any person in the public, and it was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And luckily it went okay, but do you have any of those last moment jitters?
Well, famously with me, whatever show I do, I only get nervous up until about 10 minutes before I go on stage. It's like, I'm fine. Then we hear like, oh, this is your 10-minute warning, and then I start to panic, and I kind of need people to hold me. And that happened a lot during our show as well. You weren't there to witness it. But I would say the only time where I've been worried about whether the show is actually going to happen was when I took a play. I was in a play that went to the Camden Fringe Festival a couple of years ago, a play called After Juliet, which is sort of meant to be the sequel to Romeo and Juliet.
Wow. Was it like a student-written thing?
It wasn't student, it's actually a play written by, who's it written by? I can't remember. Some Irish woman, I believe. Give it to Google, because that is actually a play, After Juliet.
Arthur Juliet, like King Arthur?
No, after, like, not before, after.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Meant to be the sequel to Romeo and Juliet. Sort of written in Shakespearean, sort of not. And that one I was slightly worried for, because it was only until a couple of days before the show when we actually managed to do a full run-through and had all of the cast there.
Really?
Up until that point, we'd been working on it for about 6-7 weeks, but we had never had a full cast because people were going on holiday or were ill, and some personal circumstances that came up as well. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking, doing a show and like 2 days before having your first run-through where all of the cast are there. That's the only time where I've been worried about, are we actually going to be able to pull it off? Yeah.
It's Sharman MacDonald.
That's the one.
Is the writer.
More Scottish than Irish. Yes, that's actually a proper play, yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because there are times, for me personally as well, where you're so close to a show and you don't have any faith in it. And it's not because of anyone else, it's just it isn't coming together as it should be. And it's a multitude of factors. You're not blaming like the directors, or maybe you're the director and maybe the actors, do you know what I mean? Like lots of things going on. The closest I got to that was it was just something at school. It was a silly thing where you got, as a house, you got a group of people who were younger to come together, and it was a brilliant process. Everyone got along so well, but certain things went wrong with the dress, and a dress is such a stressful time because it can really set the mood going into a show. If you have a brilliant dress, you've got a really good energy coming into your first show. If you don't have a great dress, sometimes you can bounce back off it, but also that energy can seep in.
Yeah.
And I just remember the dress wasn't as good as I was hoping it to be, but then the show happened, and it's just the way you flip, and you get so you watch it just with like pride and happiness. Or if you're in it and you feel it going well. I more so do comedies and things, so that's a real indicator is if you're getting any laughs.
Oh, I know that.
And so it's an interesting one where like kind of combating your own head. I think that's such a huge part of it, coming into a show especially. What do you do to deal with your nerves? And I'm sorry, I know we're going a bit off topic here. I'm just generally interested. So like when you're coming into a show and your 10-minute call comes with nerves, do you embrace the nerves, or can they get too much and can it affect your performance?
I try and never let it affect my performance, because I channel that into the performance, if that makes sense. I just have to remind myself I'm so nervous because I care.
Yeah.
Because I want to do the best I can. I want to make the audience laugh or cry, whatever it is, depending on the nature of the show. And then I have to remind myself that, generally speaking, I know what I'm doing. If others don't, I know my lines. I know where I'm meant to go. So I shouldn't mess up.
Yeah.
So it's just, and I usually take myself away, and I'll find someone in the cast who I trust and who can comfort me.
Yeah.
When we famously did our show together, that was Mr. Jack Petheram.
Mr. Jack Petheram, who has also done a podcast.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Yes, more on him later. He was very good at sort of calming and reassuring me. He kind of gives me the look to be like, "You're fine. You've got this. Don't worry." So it's all about sort of reminding yourself that you do know what you're doing, and just using those nerves and channeling that into a different form of energy to bring on stage with you, rather than letting it overwhelm you and then stress you out, because you don't want that.
I have to admit, once, and it's only happened to me once, nerves have got to me, and I've come away from a show so upset with myself, because I feel like it's that thing about you're performing with other people you touched on. Because I also want to ask you about the trust you have to put in others. Because you can know all your lines and things, but if you're on stage with one other person and they slip up, or they're not as comfortable with the lines and things, you are then on stage and you've really got to kind of trust and work your way through it. So it is about, trusting the people you're on stage with and working with them and being able to know your character as well, to improv around those areas, I think.
100%. And you would know this, especially from comedy. That's quite a big thing, because if you're doing a scene where it's a lot of to and fro, there's a rhythm to the scene. And if you sort of go off script a little bit, it can sort of disrupt that, and you have to think on your feet, how do I save this? How do I go that? So you are relying a lot on the cast around you. But then I think it does come with, I say experience as if like I'm a seasoned.
Well, no, to be fair, I preface each podcast by saying, look, we're just talking about things we love. Like, we're not pretending to be bloody some good actor. I don't know. we're just talking about it. So you can say from your experience, I think.
From my experience, I think it's just the more shows you do, you sort of gain more knowledge and experience of how to sort of save things when things go wrong, which sometimes they do. And you just got to keep calm and carry on the best you can.
Exactly, yeah. And then sometimes it can be the best shows, because you can bounce back off that and then get a really good energy boost going forward. Have you ever... You mentioned panto, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of jittering around a bit. And once again, we will get back on the questions. and if you're not, we can skip past it. It's absolutely fine. But have you ever performed with real animals, say with the pantos and things? Because I did a panto once, and we had a I'm gonna need help it. One of those little dogs, with a scrunched up face.
A pug.
It's like a pug. It's got a scary name, like a.
I'm not the best with dogs.
No, that's all right. We'll call it a pug for now.
Okay, the non-pug.
Yeah, it might have been one of those yappy ones as well, with the funny ears.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. But that was backstage, and it just kept shitting everywhere. And how do you cope with that? There was another time when there was a horse, and it comes on stage. It was a miniature horse, and then as the curtains closed, and it bucked, and it threw bloody the Buttons character out the carriage.
Not Buttons.
I know, Button says be happy, and he was on the floor like, bloody hell me back. But there was it. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Anyway, that's sidetracked for now. Let's go back to your favourite role you've performed. But I'm also going to ask you two at once. You've mentioned your dream role would be Bert.
Yes.
Give me another dream role, maybe from another type of acting. So maybe that's like a comedy character or something. And then your favourite role you personally have ever done, and why?
So it's very hard to pick my favourite role because I've performed some great characters. I love just making characters shine on stage. But thinking about it, I think it would have to go back to one of my an earlier role, which I think has inspired pretty much every role I've done so far, which is the role of Terence Havisham in a play called Havisham Hall, which is a farce play. It's a great play. I'd love to see it staged again or something. It's such a good play. I play Terence Havisham, which is the young son of this wealthy household who, Lord and Lady Havisham, they have their own estate and everything's going to shit, basically. They don't have money to run the estate. They're coming up with ways that they've sold like one end of the estate as like an old people's home and stuff, and everything kind of goes wrong in the show. It's one of those. It's a bit like the play that goes wrong, if you've seen or heard of that kind of mood. But that role was so good. I think that's when I really discovered my love of comedy and sort of character acting, and the relationships that I built with some of the cast during that. It's like that sort of inspired me to be actually, do you know what? I think I should teach acting, take it more seriously, because up until that point it was kind of a fun hobby to do at the weekends at my drama school, but from that role onwards, that was very much actually, I think I might be on to something.
So jump off point.
That was probably my favourite role because it inspired everything that since came from it.
That's a really good answer. Just quickly on that point, you mentioned that's more of a comedy role. You've played both parts, drama and comedy. Which would you say you find more difficult, and what are the main differences between the two that you find between doing comedy and doing drama?
I find it's so hard to say which I think is more difficult because they're very different styles.
Hugely.
What I would say is doing drama is more difficult for you as an individual, whereas comedy, I think, is more difficult because you're relying on other people. Just going from my experience, because with comedy, I would say I'm stronger at comedy than drama. But then you are sort of relying on your cast to bounce off, a little bit the audience as well, because if you've got a dead audience and they're giving you nothing, it's quite disheartening to carry on. Whereas with drama, I feel like you can have a not as good cast or audience, but you as an actor, you can still stand out if you've really thought about your character and the ways to bring that on stage. So it's sort of, one's more internal, one's more external. So that's why I find it hard to compare, but I find them difficult in different ways. I would say probably drama more because, I would say I'm stronger with comedy. Drama, I need to think a lot more about before I can say, oh, I'm happy with that character, I'm happy with that performance.
That is a really good answer. That was absolutely stellar. Dream role. We've got Bert. Any others that come to mind? I'll give you three. So you've got Bert and two others.
But it's not really that different. But I would love to play from Les Mis. I can't say his name.
Thénardier.
That's the one. I'd be good at that, I think. And this isn't a specific role because I don't know of an example, but a type of role which I've never played, which I would like to give a go, is I would like to try and do something quite psychological, and maybe I use the word villain, but that sounds like a panto, but like a bad person.
Like a Hannibal Lecter type?
That kind of type. I'd like to give that sort of a go, because that's very different to anything that I've ever done before. So I would like to give that sort of role a go in the future, just to broaden my range and skills and see if I can do it.
That's so true. I hate being typecast, and I'm quite often typecast as the awkward bumbly one, which I play superbly. But like I like to branch out, and that's why I mentioned it on a podcast in the past. But I did Farm and Couch play that Ed Mulrine wrote, and I got cast as a part I'd never done before. It was a villain, obviously very much a pantomime villain because it was a comedy, but it was really fun to stretch it. That's why I'd love to play like a Joker type. Obviously, not as well as some of the incredible performances have been out there, but that type of villain who's really what's the word? Like out there, extroverted, and so quick, rather than being kind of within the confines of their own brain and really like malicious and thought out in what they do. I'd love to just go crazy on stage or on film.
Yeah, that would be a fun role to play. I agree with that. It would be good because then you've used your experience of being the bumbly, awkward character who is out there in a sense, but sort of heighten that to another level with a sort of different tone. It's using a lot more sort of, I think, dark comedy, you'd call it, which I think would be fun to do.
Yeah. I'd love to give that a go. I don't know what else. Probably Thénardier as well, actually, because that's such a fun role. Like, I love musicals, I'm just not a singer. So, whereas Thénardier provides you the opportunity to have loads of fun on stage, and you don't really have to have the best singing ability at all. So that'll be a dream role. I don't know what else. Probably Mark Corrigan in Peep Show. Have you seen Peep Show?
No, I've heard of it, and I think I know the character.
David Mitchell's character, who actually is exactly the bumbling awkward I've just said I don't want to be typecast as. But that, to me, is just the pinnacle of my type of humour. And so I would love to be able to have done... Oh, also Harry Potter. Let's not forget. If I was born a couple of years earlier, I've got a Harry Potter look about me. Who used to call me Harry Potter at school? So if I could take those...
About me.
Yeah. So if I could take those insults and then use them and go, well, actually, I am Harry Potter, that'd be pretty cool.
Great.
You're smashing this interview, by the way, because it is an interview. Let's not forget.
Thank you very much.
But as you know about Bert, as well as I do, he opens up about some of his most embarrassing stories. And so for me, really, to get to know you as the character and a person, Ozzy, I really need to know, what's your most embarrassing moment to happen on stage?
I mean, there is actually quite a few to pick from.
You can have a couple, but you have to say which one's the most.
Oh, I know what one is the most. Just as a couple, just to build it up for, you and all the listeners out there. I don't mind embarrassing myself. That's the thing. I do think, actually, on a quick side note, and then we'll get back on track, I think it's really important as an actor to be prepared to embarrass yourself on stage. Because if things do go wrong, and you just have to embrace it and go with it. And if you come off stage in a strop because something went wrong, whether it was your fault or something went wrong with the lighting or something, then you're letting your ego run away a bit. I think you need to take it back. At the end of the day, it's not too serious. Most of the work we do is not too serious.
Yeah.
So be prepared to embarrass yourself on stage, as I always am. On that note, I embarrassed myself many times. The most recent time I embarrassed myself was when I did Maximum Depth at uni, and it was the last show. Everything was going really well, pretty much the last line of the play, and I said the wrong name on stage. And then I added my own little soliloquy at the end, and Louis, the director, came off afterwards and he went, "That was great, Ozzy. I love how you've decided to change the script on the last night." I know, I was waiting for it to happen.
You just have a mind blank, don't you? You're there and you're like, and then you just say whatever the hell you want.
I know, and it went wrong, and oh well. So that's the most recent example. But the biggest example of me going wrong on stage was that show that I was talking about after Juliet. I was worried about. It actually turned out all right. Apart from one of the nights when we're doing this movement sequence where to leave the stage, all the cast and ensemble would walk in sort of right angle, so like you'd walk a bit and turn, if you know what I mean. And one night, I ended up being the first one at the backdrop curtain to go into the wing, and that had never happened before. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just lead it off stage. But then I couldn't find the split in the curtain. So I've ended up at the back of the stage, and I'm now frantically moving the curtain to try and get off the stage. And all the cast are behind me, and they're like, I can just feel everyone looking at me, being, Ozzy, we need to go on stage. The music's going to finish in the moment. The lights are going to be up, and it's not going to be a blackout. Everyone's just going to be on stage, and it's going to be wrong.
Oh, no.
I couldn't find the slit. Eventually someone else did, and everyone went off that way. I panicked, the lights went up, and I was still on stage, and I just turned, walked across the stage, and went off the other wing, which wasn't very professional or great, and it was very embarrassing. I thought the director was going to kill me after it, but he laughed about it, so thanks, Nick, for that. But yeah, that would be the most embarrassing moment on stage, when I couldn't get off the stage.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing more embarrassing than literally not being able to leave.
Because it's not even something like in character, which then you can fluff over. This is just Ozzy being Ozzy, inept when you can't leave the stage.
Oh,
How
man.
do you stage that? So that is the worst moment on stage of my life.
Oh, mate. To be fair, though, it's fun, and you can take it well. I've got, I'd say, 3.
Yo.
The first one, I got a chicken leg thrown at my face by accident. So we were doing Faustus, which is actually my favourite role I've ever played. Not my favourite production, but the favourite role I've ever played. And in one of the scenes, I was invisible, and I was messing with people. And someone's supposed to throw a chicken leg over the head. I'm supposed to catch it and bite it. And she threw it, and I went to catch it. It went right through my hands and walloped me right in the middle of my forehead. And it had a bit of, what's that avocado sauce called?
What, guacamole?
Guacamole. So I had a little stretch of guacamole across my eyebrow. So that was quite embarrassing, but it was all in good fun. The next one, and it's my favourite thing in the world. My granny came to see one of my shows, and she's the love of my life. She's the funniest person in the world. But she's getting quite old, and, you know, if she wants to sleep, she can. And she fell asleep during the show. And I was playing a really brooding character. It was DNA.
Yes.
Joe writes DNA?
Yeah, I know DNA. Who wrote it?
Yeah.
It's Dennis...
Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
Dennis Kelly. Yeah.
Anyway, you know, just give him a shout out. You know, we're talking about his stuff. And she fell asleep during the show, and I was playing Phil, who was like this, really like the evil mastermind behind like what they decide to do. Oh, I might be describing it wrong, but I don't speak at all until I walk up, and I have this monologue where I just control everyone. Everyone's listening to me, and it's quite a tense moment. And as I stood up to start, my dad saw she was asleep, and so he pushed her arm, and she just woke up with a start and went, "Shut up, I'm sleeping." Like full volume for everyone, and I went, and then I just carried on, and it was fine. And the guy next to us was laughing, and like it was no means malicious by her. It wasn't like she was confused or anything. She was just tired. And then when she woke up, as you do, you forget where you are. And so that's a really highlight of my memory. And like I just loved it. It was such a funny time. But the most embarrassing was when I had to do my first ever stage kiss, the only ever stage kiss I've had to do, and I was terrified, really was. And as I came in to, like, I had to walk towards her while saying lines, and I got so nervous that I put my foot down, and I completely lost my balance. So I was walking towards her, lost my balance, stumbled a bit, and then had to come back and do the kiss, and I couldn't breathe. It was literally like so embarrassing that your lungs close off. It was awful. I'll show you the clip. It was not fun for me.
Oh, Alex.
Yeah, so, you know, at least we know each other a bit better.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Quick diversion again. You've mentioned about, you know, not taking it too seriously, because it is a bit of fun. But obviously there is the professional aspect of it, which we will get onto as well. But I find them very interesting. And I actually got this, I was listening to another brilliant podcast by Brett Goldstein, which is called Films to Be Buried With, and he's an actual actor, so he knows a lot more than I do. And he's talking about method actors and how he hates them because not hates, but like he doesn't understand why you have to be a dick to everyone to be good at the role. And I'm just interested in your opinion on this, because some of the best actors I've ever seen, and my favourite actors, Daniel Day-Lewis and Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker, like they are absolutely phenomenal. But do you think you have to be a wanker to do it? And it's not always a wanker, because it depends on the character they're doing. But quite often, the character you're doing when you're method acting is, got a lot going on upstairs and things.
Yeah.
So where do you stand on it? Are you a method actor? Or
I mean, I wouldn't call myself a method actor. I mean, to be fair, I've never, had a process where I've been in character the whole time. So I've never given it a full-on go, but I don't think, for me personally, it would work. I don't knock people who do it, because it's all about getting to know your character, and as I've sort of alluded to before, I think that's the most important thing in acting. It's getting to know your character and just having good characters, because you can have a play with the best plot in the world. It can be play, film, TV, whatever, but if the characters are shit, then who cares? So method acting is great for making these great characters. As you said, some of the best actors are method actors. But I have a problem with, if there's always a line, and if you are unable to step back from that character, then I don't think you're actually helping yourself as an actor. Because I feel like, and the reason I don't think method acting helped me, is because you need to be able to step back from that character to reassess and reevaluate. Because as the process goes on, you can get too comfortable in the character, and you need to think, right, how can I change things or bring new things to this character? And I kind of think if you're stuck in the mindset of said character for too long, then you become too safe, I think, in that character. And I don't know if maybe there's a difference for doing method acting in sort of film or theatre, because theatre obviously goes on for longer and you need to keep it fresh, whereas film is sort of a process and it's done. But personally, it's not for me. And I feel like if you're a method actor and then you're constantly being rude to people because I am playing a psychopath or I am an arrogant president and that's how it should be, then I feel like, actually, no, stop it.
it's a very fair point. I jump off the back of what you said earlier, and it's an ensemble. It doesn't matter if you're the main. If you're acting alongside someone, you're there for them. You work together to create something. You're not there to make them work. So my main problem is, firstly, just don't be rude to people when you're off stage. You need to be able to separate it.
Exactly.
And I won't say you're not a good actor if you method act, because that's not true. But like, acting is pretending.
Yeah.
I know people will disagree with that, and they'll say, "Oh no, it's about providing a higher form of art and bringing people towards something." And as you say, there is a professional aspect that we lack, because we're not professional actors. And if we did get into that field, then maybe we'd have a different opinion. But where I stand right now, it's just you're working alongside someone. Even if they're a smaller role and you're the main, you need to be working alongside them to create something brilliant for everyone else. You've got to remember what you're doing it for. But yeah, that's it. Any last words on that, or are you happy to move on to the next question?
I mean, I think that's the method, and I think we're done with that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to Best Actor in a TV Role. We're going to do a mini Oscars. I want you to name Best Actor in TV, film, and stage performance. The three you've seen.
Ooh.
So mine, just quickly, best stage performance I've ever seen was, I think, Ruth Wilson in Hedda Gabler, which was the National Theatre version about 2 years ago. She was magnificent in that, and she brought something to a play I'd never read or heard before, and that I really like that, because for me, so often I will have read a play before I see it, mostly because I did them at school and then I'd watch them, and I hate that, because I'd love to see if I could understand Shakespeare without any foreknowledge.
Yes.
Because I generally like, could I be able to deal with the iambic pentameter and still be able to work out what's actually being said? So that's something I was, and then Hedda Gabler really sold that for me, and Ruth Wilson was sublime in that, and she's also amazing in Luther as well. So yeah, so that's my stage performance. Who is your favourite stage performance actor in a film and in a TV role?
So if we go for stage performance first, my favourite stage performance is by an actor called Ewan Stewart, who is in a production of Things I Know to Be True, if you know that play. And he played the patriarch figure of a family. And there was just one scene, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone if you haven't seen the play and it comes back. But it's just, there's a long piece where it's just movement on stage and it's just him. And it's his reaction, and your heart just rips for the character. And I've never been moved so much by a stage performance. It was just, he conveyed so much emotion using no words, just his face and body, and it was breathtaking, I have to say. So, well done, Ewan. In a film, the best role, I believe, is Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump.
Very good answer.
He makes you laugh, he makes you cry. It's a very challenging role as well to play. And I know some people might feel different ways about actors playing roles with actors playing disabilities on film or stage if they don't have one themselves. And maybe if the film was made today, he wouldn't be casting that. But I believe his performance is still stellar. And the range of emotions he portrays in a very hard character to portray as well was great. Best actor in a TV role, it's a hard one because I've seen, of the three art forms, I've seen TV the most, obviously. Yeah. One at the moment that I love, I've just started watching the series, is Helen McCrory, if that's how you say her name, as Polly in Peaky Blinders.
Superb answer.
I love her. I love the character. It's the looks. It's the quick interactions and side remarks to the family. She's just superb. And I've watched 1.5 series now, I think. Almost finished season 2. So still quite new to it, but I watch it for her. She is ace. Love her. So big up, Helen.
You've got an amazing couple of weeks ahead of you because Peaky Blinders is sublime. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's all on Netflix. So you can just have a great time. I mean, when in isolation, watch Peaky Blinders. They're superb answers. I'd say, they're difficult ones all round. Best actor in a film, I think mine is a two-way tie between two people in the same film. And that is Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. Because they're just brilliant. I just want to check I haven't got both their names right. I'm pretty sure I have. But what's amazing about Jodie Foster especially is that she allows for everyone else to act off her. So I would argue the role in itself doesn't provide a massive amount for her, but what she does is she works so well with Anthony Hopkins. Like, the chemistry is phenomenal. She leads the film in her own right, but it's one of these performances that is understated and sublime because it's not like she's doing a really overly dramatic role. She just plays a brilliant FBI agent, and she absolutely sells it out of the park. And then when it comes to the tension, she shows it really well at the end of the film. And I just think overall, it's one of those performances where, because quite often you'll go for character roles of like side characters who do so much and they're so eccentric and out there that they warrant it in their own right. But I think Jodie Foster in that is just brilliant at letting other people do their thing and then holding her ground as the central point for everyone else to view the film off. And then Anthony Hopkins in that is terrifying. It's just the scariest role I've ever seen. It's just such a good film, and it's not even my favourite film of all time, but it's a really good film, and it provides some brilliant acting within it.
Yeah, agreed. I'd agree with that. Yes.
I think I've said mine then. Oh no, best actor in a TV role. Oh God. I love TV. Possibly Lena Headey in Game of Thrones, because she's amazing in that. She's, especially in the earlier seasons, I really enjoy every scene she's in. But also, do you know who plays Joffrey in it?
I don't watch Game of Thrones. So
I'm just going to quickly check, because he's never done anything else really. Although I think he's coming back to TV. He's doing a sitcom, but he's amazing in it. He's such a brilliant actor, and I think he's quite underrated. And he did the role, Jack Gleeson. He did the role, and then he left acting. Who does that? And he's so young as well, and he's got his head screwed on so well. He just he knows exactly what he's doing, and it's not like he acts for the sake of doing it as a job, which is very fair. You've got to pay your bills, but he does it because he has an art, and I think that's really impressive to see. And he is coming back to acting, I think. But yeah, I think him in Game of Thrones is an amazing role. Let's scooch down. We've got 5 more questions for you, Oz. And the first of those is best comedic actor. So we've touched on the difference between drama and comedy. We'll get onto drama in a little bit. But who do you think does comedy the best?
Again, there's a list. I mean, I've got a list written down next to me.
Top 3 I'll give you.
3, who I will say, in no particular order.
Yeah.
They each represent something different as well, which I think is quite important. One of them, I would say, I love Catherine Tate.
She's brilliant.
I think she's hilarious. In the Catherine Tate show, her character of Nan is wonderful, and they're making a film of it, and I don't know how it's going to be, but I hope it's going to be great, because I love the character, and it's not quite politically correct, but sometimes it's just the sense of humour that I find quite funny. It's just, I love it. I love her. I also loved her in Doctor Who as well.
Yeah, she's superb in Doctor Who.
She is a great actress, and it goes to show what happens when you write and perform your own stuff, because that's a talent in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say Dame Maggie Smith, the queen of one-liners.
Yeah.
Love her in Downton Abbey. Love her in Harry Potter, and I think she's quite underrated in Harry Potter, actually.
She is.
Everyone always goes on about the leads and Alan Rickman, who I reckon probably the best actor in the whole series. But Maggie Smith has a presence about her in every role that she does. And you don't find that a lot in comedy, I believe, when someone is on screen and they're just making you laugh and they can just steal it in a second with a look or a line. She does that brilliantly. But I love her. And I'd also say Ryan Reynolds. I love
Ryan
him.
Reynolds is superb.
He's hilarious. Whether it's just him playing himself and he's just naturally funny, I'm not sure. But everything I see him in, I laugh. And there's this low-budget rom-com film that he did called Just Friends, which is all about being stuck in the friend zone and loving a girl, but she just doesn't care. And it's just hilarious. So I'd recommend find that film. It was on Netflix and it may have come off, but you'd like that film, Alex. Watch that, Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds.
I'll give it a peruse. It sounds right up my street, to be fair.
Yeah, I love all 3 of those actors and many more, but each for different
types of comedy as well.
Yes, yeah.
I would have said Jim Carrey, if not for what we've discussed on method acting, because I can't remember the film. I'm going to completely butcher this. He was in a film about a really famous old comedian. That was a really weird way of saying it. And he method acted this comedian, and he was just an absolute arsehole behind the set. And it was one of those documentaries that almost beats the film. Like Heart of Darkness, I think, for Apocalypse Now. I'm not sure. I might have once again got that wrong. But it really showed his true colours. So although he's amazing at what he does, that does put it off for me because I know what went into it. That being said, Truman Show, one of the best films ever made. I think he's fantastic in that. So my 3 are Matt Berry, who most well known, I'd say, for the IT crowd, but he wrote his own show called Toast of London, which is the most bizarre, wacky, out there show I've ever seen, and he's so funny. He just makes me laugh no matter what he does. Jack Black. I will seek out Jack Black films. So I'll search for him and then watch films because he's in them. I just think he's absolutely hilarious. And then It's quite difficult. What comes to Amy Poehler in Parks and Rec, because she's meant to be very annoying and like quite cloying at times, and I think she's so funny in the role. I think she plays it really well. She was also in The House with Will Ferrell, and she was really good in that. I think they're probably my top three, but it chops and changes all the bloody time, as I'm sure yours do as well.
Yeah. On that note, actually, just quickly going back to another question, Will Ferrell in Elf, I think is one of the best film roles of all time. I don't know anyone else who could play that role. It was great. I love that. Just a little side note.
Yeah, just throwing it in there. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it wouldn't have the cult status it has if not for Will Ferrell in the role, I think. It's absolutely perfect.
Amazing. Love it.
Now let's get more somber. Best dramatic actor, if you would. Once again, if you're struggling, I'll give you a top three. But I want your number one for this one. I do want you to try and decide if you can.
I can say I think number one. Well, I could say a number one, and then someone else would pop up and be like, "Oh, actually, maybe then." But one person who I would say, because my problem is I haven't seen lots of people in lots of different roles.
Mm-hmm.
But the actor I've seen in lots of different roles, and he is able to perform such a range of emotions, is David Tennant.
Superb answer.
David Tennant, he's so good. And I think maybe that might be from a child, the 10th Doctor was my Doctor in Doctor Who. But everything he's been in, be it Broadchurch, even when he was in Harry Potter and he pops up for 5 minutes at the end of the film, he's sick in that role. He's just able to just capture you in everything he does. He will make you laugh, he'll make you cry, he'll make you hate him as well in a little role. When he was in Broadchurch, the ITV show a few years ago, first series in that, sublime acting in that. At one point you hated the character. You're like, I don't care, you are worse than the murderer right now because you're such a horrible person.
Yeah.
It's just, he always captures me in everything he does, and it's on my list of things to watch during this lockdown, because I do know that he did some theatre stuff, and he was in Hamlet.
He did Hamlet, and they also recorded it as a film. So like they filmed it properly as well.
Watch that recording because I'm sure I'd love it because I love him. He is one of the greatest actors of all time, in my opinion.
He's bloody brilliant.
So I am able to give a name for that one, but I'm sure there's lots more out there that I would love. But as a drama actor, he's up with.
Yeah. Any honourable mentions?
Honourable mention. I will give Helen McCroy a mention again. I haven't seen the whole production because I haven't been able to find it out there. It might be there. But I've seen her in clips of Medea when she did that at the National Theatre a few years ago, 2016 maybe, something like that. Because I did some research for one of the essays when I remember that I did do a degree as well. And she was great in that. And Medea, probably one of the most challenging Greek tragedies. That's the word. Roles to do. She smashed it from the clips that I've seen. So big love, big shout out to Helen.
Smashing. Yeah. Big shout out for Helen because she's kind of gone under the radar a bit until recently. I feel like Peaky Blinders has really put her more on the map. She's in Quiz as well. Have you seen Quiz?
I haven't seen it. I've got it recorded on my Skybox. I need to watch that.
Good watch. I haven't seen much of her yet, but I am very excited for her to get involved. Thank you, Ozzy. Some superb answers so far. We're getting there now. We're down to the final 3 questions, but this is what the role of Bert lies upon. It's how you answer these.
Right.
So much pressure on your part. Best live theatre experience you've ever had? And I will include on live streamed cinema, but like only if you haven't got many actual like in theatre ones.
Well, as a slight, I haven't seen any live streamed cinema. As a slight bending of the question, because it was an immersive thing. Yeah. The Great Gatsby immersive production in London is amazing. I loved that. It's my favourite book of all time, The Great Gatsby. So I was apprehensive when I found out that they had turned it into a play. I'm like, are they just going to butcher it? But then I rocked up to this old warehouse somewhere in London, and everyone goes, you're meant to dress up in 1920s attire, and the whole thing was so well put together in terms of there was bits with the whole audience together where they broke away from the play to teach you Charleston, and there was a bar and people were getting drinks. But then the play that they made of the story was great as well, and the acting I couldn't fault. It was such a great experience that I think it's definitely up there as a theatrical experience. That immersive production of The Great Gatsby is great. As a more traditional play, the best play that I've seen is Things I Know to Be True by Andrew. Oh, I don't have his surname listed there. Andrew something. I'll give it a go. Google. Frantic Assembly were involved with that as well. That just sums up everything that I like about plays. It's centered around one family, all their experiences, how they stick together, how they're pulled apart, and by the end of it, they're sort of left standing. It's such a clever play, and the involvement of Frantic Assembly as well, the movement on stage. And usually I don't like physical theatre. I find it a bit off-putting, and it's like, you're just pretending to be a tree. But they did it in a more stylised way, which was great. So that was Andrew Bovill, or Bovill, however you say his name, wrote it. It's great guy. Shout out to him. Things I Know to Be True is a classic play. It's great.
Some superb answers there. This next question, all I've sent you in your interview brief was a future in acting. Now, all I want to know really is, I know that's something you would quite like to pursue, and it is a hell of a daunting thing for a lot of people. And I just want to know kind of what, like, you going forward, kind of what would you advise? I mean, I know you're going through it yourself, but what would you advise? How feasible do you think it is? Like, what is the difference between enjoying acting and doing it as a profession, kind of?
I think for me, because I've flip-flopped a lot in the past few years whether I do want to do acting or not. And for a long time I thought, well, it's I don't think I am going to do it. I think in fact I came to uni with that in mind, that I'm probably just going to end up as like an English teacher or something. I don't think I'm going to do acting. But then getting involved in a lot more plays, there's certain moments at the end of, I mean, I'm very lucky that most of the plays and productions I've been in lately have been very good and very well received and written and directed, and that's credit to talented people like yourself, Alex Raven.
Thank you very much.
But if you get that moment at the end of the play where you're standing on stage and people are clapping and you have that feeling, you're looking at the cast and we're all smiling, like we smashed it, guys, and you have that feeling of, I just want to be doing this day in, day out for my life, because I love it. This isn't just something that is a hobby. This is something that I love, that I'm reasonably good at, that I could do more. And it's just that feeling of, this is where I belong and this is where I should be. So it's hard. It's a hard industry to get into. I don't know how I'm going to go about it. I have a couple ideas in mind, because I chose not to go to drama school. I didn't want to go down that route. I'm personally, from my experience, I want to go more into, I want to make my own theatre company. So my goal over the next year or so is to find people who may be interested in doing that, so we can write, produce our own sort of stuff, and then get other people involved when they want to be as well. My advice for anyone like myself trying to get into it is just learn, try and find your style of acting that you think you are great at, and then think, right, am I great just for an amateur theatre every now and then I could do on the side of a regular job, or is there something more to it that I could take to the West End, to Edinburgh Fringe, to something, to a paying audience?
Yeah.
That's not just friends and family. Do you have that love and desire to take it further? And if you've got that, then go for it. be it drama school, be it trying to form your own company, be it just get an agent and go to every casting available. There's different avenues to go, and it's not easy. But if you find that you have that drive and love for it, then I'm a very sentimental person. I'd say follow your heart and go for it.
What a superb answer, and it touches on something that I really appreciate, which is that with acting you have to believe in yourself. And it's not a question of you being, oh, it's a bit arrogant, he thinks he's that good. You have to think you're that good to make it, because it's such a hard industry to crack. Right. And it doesn't mean you're arrogant at all. It just means that you believe in you've got a talent for it. It's like an accountant knows they're good with numbers, do you know what I mean? But they don't get slated for it. Whereas if you're going for it and someone says, oh, what, do you think you're good? We go, yeah, I do. I really think I've got the potential to do this, because it's what I'm good at. It's where my skills lie. And that is something I've really been getting my head around. It's this, not selfishness, but self-belief. Because you really have to put yourself, you got to back yourself, which is so hard to do. Because everyone has so much, frailty with it, thinking that they're not good enough. But with this career path, you really have to believe in yourself. And I think that is a positive thing overall as well. So yeah, I think that was a superb answer, Oz. I loved it. Just to finish, we've got a couple of minutes. Your favourite actor of all time?
This is probably the easiest question you've asked me.
Brilliant.
My favourite actor of all time is Robin Williams. God rest his soul. I love the man. Every role he's done, he encapsulates that. I mean, he's known more for his comedy roles, which, as we've discussed, is something that I love and I aspire to be. But some of his more serious roles as well, and even his comedic roles. Even if you look at a film like Mrs. Doubtfire, which you say and everyone thinks, oh, well, that's just a bit of cheesy family fun.
Yeah.
Which in a sense it is to an extent. But to that character, he brings such a vulnerability, such a sense of you feel for him, that he's dressing up as a woman, pretending to be a nanny in order to be with his kids. I mean, he takes you on a journey with every film, because he makes these such distinguishable characters, and he sort of encapsulates my philosophy, if for want of a posh word, in terms of acting and the industry and characters and comedy. He is the saint. He's who I look up to whenever I am giving a character. I'm like, how would Robin do it? And it's not me trying to be like him, which is one of the reasons why I would never want to play Genie in Aladdin, because I love that role, but I wouldn't want to do it, because how could anyone do it better than him? Yeah. But it's in terms of what would his mindset, mentality, how would he go about being in this play or whatever, because he was a legend. He was a legend, and he is. I mean, I didn't mention him when you asked about best comedic actor, because he does the drama side so well. He encapsulates everything. So as a whole, he is my favourite actor of all time. Lovely man.
Ozzy, I am delighted to announce that you are playing Bert in the East End production of Mary Poppins. With me, Mary Poppins. It's going to be a blast. Thank you so much for coming on. You've been absolutely fantastic. And thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Social Isolation.